Hey there, Claude Code is the most popular agentic coding tool for vibe coders and experienced developers alike. In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know to build real-world applications with Claude Code. We'll also start from the very beginning, from setting up Claude Code, using it correctly, and we'll cover every major feature that was recently added. Let's jump in. You can go ahead and bookmark this video as you'll definitely want to come back to it. So what exactly is Claude Code? Well, if you've ever used the Claude website or the Claude desktop app, you probably would have noticed this little tab called Code. Now this tab could seem very intimidating to you, especially if you're not a developer. But don't worry, you won't be writing any code yourself. We'll get Claude to build our application for us. I've seen non-technical people use this to build their own websites for their companies or dashboards or tools that they can use on a daily basis. So as far as I'm concerned, this is something that everyone should be using. And don't worry, I'll take you through the entire process of building your very own app or website in this tutorial. Now the Claude desktop app is definitely not the only place where you can access Claude Code. And in this video we'll cover all of the different ways to access Claude Code as well. From using it in the web app, the desktop app, to running the Claude Code CLI tool in your code editor. I'll mostly be using the Claude desktop app throughout this tutorial, but we will have a look at the CLI tool as well to show you very specific features that's only available in the CLI tool. But for the majority of you, if you want to follow along, go ahead and download the Claude desktop app from this URL. I will leave a link to this in the description of this video. So simply download it for your operating system, and after opening the app, you can simply go to the Code tab. Now do take note that you will need a Claude subscription to access this service. So in order to sign up for Claude, what you can do is click on your profile image, then click on Upgrade Plan. And then you can upgrade to any of their plans, like the Pro plan, it's about $20 a month, or the Max plan that starts from $100, but honestly, you only need the Pro plan to follow along. The second option is to install and run Claude Code in a terminal. Thankfully, this is really easy as well. I'll leave a link to this article in the description. But all you have to do is scroll down to your operating system, like I'm using Windows. We can simply copy this installation command and then run it in the terminal. This will install or update your Claude Code instance. Of course, if you are using Linux or Mac, you can simply copy this command. And in Windows, what I can do is actually open Ubuntu WSL. And after installing Claude, you can simply run the command Claude. This will open up the setup wizard, so we can just choose our theme. I'll go with dark mode, and now you can choose your login method. You can sign in with your Claude subscription, or you can use your API key. Or of course, if you're using a third-party platform, like if you're working for an enterprise, you can definitely use Amazon Bedrock, Foundry, or Vertex AI. Now, if you're an individual, I would not recommend going with the API usage billing. This is going to be super expensive. Claude will give you a certain amount of usage within a 5-hour window. And if you exceed that usage, you won't be billed for anything. You'll simply have to wait until your usage resets. So after signing in, we can simply press enter to continue. Let's press enter again, and I'll just use the recommended settings. Awesome, and now we can start using Claude Code. Let's just say, hey. And if you get a response back, it means the setup was successful. So as I mentioned, I'll mainly be using the Claude desktop app, but I will be switching to the CLI tool from time to time to show you specific features that's only available in the CLI. But at this point, let's look at the fundamentals. Of course, we can send a message to Claude, like, hey, and in the chat interface, we can also attach files. So we can attach like PDF documents or Word documents or text files, as well as photos. And attaching images is actually really useful, especially if you want Claude to build an application with a very specific design. You can grab a screenshot of the design that you like, attach it to the chat window, and ask Claude to create something similar. Or if you run into any bugs in your application, you can take a snapshot of that bug and pass it into the chat window as well. You can easily access any slash commands, and we will have a look at slash commands in this video as well. And you can also attach connectors. Like I've connected my Gmail account to Claude so that I can get Claude to maybe look at emails or draft responses. But that's not really relevant to what we're doing here with Claude Code. It is a very useful feature that I've connected to Cowork, which I'll actually cover in a separate video. Then we can also attach plugins. Now, plugins is a really convenient way of attaching things like custom commands or skills or any other features that kind of elevate the capabilities of the model. Then besides that, we can also change the mode. By default, the mode will be set to ask permissions. This means that before Claude Code makes any changes to files or run any commands, it will first ask your permission to do so. So you would have to manually approve or decline any changes that it wants to make. With Auto Accept Edits mode, the agent will simply make changes to files without asking your permission. It will still ask your permission to run certain commands though. Then we also have Planning mode. In Planning mode, the agent won't make any changes to the project. This is just a sort of way to have a conversation with the agent, to discuss your app idea, and to come up with an implementation plan. Now, I also have this mode called Bypass Permissions mode. You might not see this, and I will show you how to enable it in a second. But when you click on Bypass Permissions mode, it means that the agent will never ask your permission to do something. It will edit files, it will run commands, all on autopilot. This can also be deemed a little bit risky, that's why we got the warning, but if you're comfortable using Claude Code, you can simply enable Bypass Permissions mode. To enable that feature, go to Settings, go to Claude Code, and enable this toggle, Allow Bypass Permissions mode. And you should then see this option. I'm actually just going to go to Auto Accept Edits. Then next to that, we can choose the model that we want to use, where Opus is the most powerful model from Anthropic, followed by Sonnet, which is kind of middle of the road, and then we have Haiku, which is a super fast and cheap model. The way I look at it is that Opus is really good at creating those detailed implementation plans up front, and when we hand over the development task, we can select Sonnet. Or if you feel brave, simply always run Opus. Where Haiku isn't really good at doing coding, but it can be useful for writing documentation. I'm going to switch over to Opus 4.6. And next to that, we're actually able to use our voice to provide instructions. So I'm simply going to press and hold this button. Hey Claude, how are you doing? And there you go. As I was speaking, the text just appeared on the screen. And a feature that's actually unique to the desktop app that you won't see in the terminal is this preview button. When we click on this, it opens up a browser within the desktop app. And what Claude will do is actually display our project in this window. So we'll be able to see our website live in this preview pane. But we will get back to this once we start building our app. Now, just on the terminal side of things, we can do pretty much everything that we just saw in the desktop app, but in the terminal. We can change modes by holding Shift and by pressing Tab. So we can see the mode change from Accept Edits on, which means that the agent will make changes to files without running commands automatically. In Planning mode, no changes will be made at all. This is just our opportunity to discuss our project and to create an implementation plan. And if you don't see anything at the bottom, it means that the agent will ask our permission before doing anything. In order to pull files or images into the chat window, we can simply grab the files from our file system and then drag it into the chat window. Or if you want to attach a screenshot, like let me just grab a screenshot of this, you can simply press Alt and V to paste that image into the chat window. And of course, we can ask it, describe the image. And our agent is saying that this is a screenshot of Claude Code. Cool. Now we can also access the slash commands by pressing /. Here we can see all of the commands available in Claude Code. One very valuable command is model. Here we can select the model that we want to use, so we can switch between Opus, Sonnet, and Haiku. I'll just select Opus. Now something we couldn't set in the desktop app is thinking mode. If you press Alt and T, it will bring up this thinking mode toggle. Without thinking mode, the agent will make changes really quickly because it won't actually reason or think about what it's doing. With reasoning mode enabled, it will burn a little bit more tokens, but the agent will first reason through the problem before simply jumping into making changes. I recommend enabling thinking mode. In the CLI, you can also set the effort with /effort, and this will determine the reasoning effort, so you can choose low, medium, high, or max. I'll just switch this to high. And you can also use your voice within the CLI tool. All you have to do is press /voice, and since I've already run it, I just disabled it, and now it is enabled. Simply hold space to record. So I'll just hold spacebar. Hey Claude, how are you doing today, buddy? And that just happened. So as I was talking, the text just filled in. Great. So one thing you would have noticed is in the desktop app, we had this bypass permissions option, which means the agent will never ask our permission to run any commands or edit any files. We can do the same thing in the terminal window by running Claude with this dangerously skip permissions flag. And now we get this bypass permissions on text. Alright, so that's a lot of theory, but how do we actually use Claude Code to build a useful application? Something that we'll actually use every day. Now, if you are a small business owner, one of the most practical things that you could build is your own business website. And I actually already have a dedicated video on using Claude Code for building business websites. So if you are interested in that, then check out that video. Now, in this project, we're actually going to step things up a bit. Instead of building a boring old website, we're going to build something that you would actually pay money for. In my business, I need to keep track of all my income and expenditure. So I want to capture anytime I receive income or when I pay any expenses. And along with that, I might want to attach invoices and receipts as well. Now, this application can be expanded in many different ways. You could add the ability to capture customer information, generate invoices, and do all sorts of really cool reporting. Now, this might sound scary and intimidating, but I promise you it's not, and you're going to have a lot of fun, and this might actually save your company a lot of money. And if you don't have a business, this is something that you can build and sell to companies today. Now, whether you're using Claude Code Desktop or the CLI tool, you can simply create a new session, then click on this button to select your project folder. You can simply create a new folder on your machine, and that's really it. If you are using the CLI tool, you simply need to run the terminal in that project folder. So if you are using VS Code like I am, simply open the project folder, then open up a new terminal window and start Claude in that project. Now, in order to get us started, I'm going to give you a command that will set up a boilerplate project for us, and then we'll simply overwrite that boilerplate template with our actual project. So we can ask our agent something like, please set up the basic project using the following command: create-agentic-app at latest space and period. Say yes to all the defaults. And then let's run this. Now, because of the mode that we've selected, we have to approve certain commands. So we can decide to only approve this once, or we'll always approve these types of commands in this project. Let's select that option. Now, if you are curious as to what this is actually doing, we can switch over to our code editor again, and we can see that all of these new folders and files have appeared. And that is because that command simply copied across a template for us that we can use to build pretty much any web application out there. And honestly, I've seen people build really cool stuff, from simple websites all the way to extremely complex SaaS applications. And for those of you who might be interested, this is a Next.js application. It uses React as the front end. We've got Drizzle ORM setup. We're using a Postgres database for data persistence, and we're using BetterAuth as the user authentication library. Then we've got some other cool stuff as well, like Vercel Blob Storage for storing files. We also have the Vercel AI SDK installed for any AI-related capabilities. Oh, and by the way, I do want to mention there is a convenient way of jumping to your code editor directly from the Claude Desktop app. At the bottom right, we can see this little VS Code icon, and if we expand this, we can see all the code editors we currently have installed. For me, that's VS Code and Cursor. And if I click on any of these, it will instantly bring up that code editor. Cool, so Claude said it ran the command and everything was set up correctly, and it's also giving us these next steps. We'll actually get Claude to run these next steps as well, but these are mostly related to our database. Now, we do need a database to store all sorts of data related to our application, like our user data, and since this is an income and expenses app, all the income and expense records will be stored in this database as well. And we do need a database because without it, if we restart our application, all the data will be lost. In order to start up this database, we do have one dependency. We have to install Docker Desktop. So go to docker.com and download and install Docker Desktop. Then when we open up Docker Desktop, we'll see a list of containers, and since we just installed it, we don't see any containers yet. So now that we've got Docker Desktop up and running, we can just ask Claude, please run the next steps. Cool, Claude just started up the database, It applied all the database migrations. This simply means that it took all the tables that's required for the user authentication system and applied those tables to the actual database. And if we have a look at Docker Desktop for a second, we can see this income and expense entry with our Postgres database. Cool, so now that our database is up and running, we can actually test out our application. This is such a cool feature in the desktop app, by the way. All you have to do is click on Preview, and now we can see our project running in this embedded browser. And of course, we can also see the terminal window down here, which I'm just going to hide for now. AI tools like Claude Code is changing all the time. I made the Getting Started video just a few months ago, and half of it is already outdated. And it's not just Claude Code. Every AI tool you're using right now is shipping updates constantly. Keeping up with all of it is honestly a job in itself. That's why I set up Airtop. Airtop is a platform where you describe a task in plain English, and it builds an AI agent that runs on a schedule in real cloud browsers. So instead of me manually checking change logs and blog posts every morning, I have an agent that does it for me automatically. Here's what I mean. I set up an agent that monitors the Anthropic blog, the OpenAI blog, and a few other sources I care about. Every morning it opens real browsers, reads through everything, compares it to what was there yesterday, and sends me a summary of anything new. New model releases, feature updates, breaking changes, it all lands in my inbox before I've even sat down. And because it's using real browsers, it handles all the anti-bot stuff that would break a normal scraper. I set this up once, which maybe took like 10 minutes, and now I get a daily briefing on everything happening across the AI tools I actually use. If you want to try this yourself, I'll leave a link down below. Use my code LEON to get a free month of their starter plan. Thanks to Airtop for sponsoring this video. Right, so at the moment the app looks really boring. It's simply the template landing page for the starter kit with a video tutorial showing how this all works. What we can test at this stage is whether or not we're able to sign in or sign up. So let's click on sign up. Let's enter a name and email. Let's enter a password and create the account. And it seems like we are able to access the dashboard and everything just works. Cool. Now, of course, we don't want the starter kit template. Instead, we want to build our income and expense application. Before we make any changes to our application, we really want to think carefully about what we want to build. And we can use Claude to assist us with this planning process. All we have to do is change the mode to plan mode, and now we can just do a brain dump to tell Claude what we want to build. I'm actually going to use voice mode. Hey Claude, I need you to help me come up with an implementation plan for an app that I would like to build. In my business, I need a way to keep track of all of my income and expenses, and I also want to attach things like receipts and invoices. And this app should also make it really easy to pull reports that I can use for tax purposes. And I also want the app to show a little dashboard where I can view my performance throughout the month. Cool, let's actually send this. Right, I'm actually just going to stop processing for a second, and I'm going to show you a pro tip for getting even better results out of planning mode. So our requirement was quite vague. It didn't really give a lot of insight into what our requirements for the app are. So what we can do instead of providing a brief request like this is two different things. One, we can actually go to the chat tab, and now we can ask Claude, hey there, please can you create a product requirements document for a web app that I'm trying to build. This is an income and expense tracker app for my business. So this is where I can upload all the expenses and income for my business, along with any files like receipts and invoices. This app should also include any sort of dashboards and exporting functionality that I might need for accounting and tax purposes. So again, this is very similar to what we did previously, but now we're just brainstorming outside of Claude Code to see if we can get like a proper product requirements document fleshed out. Now we could do this within the planning mode as well, but personally I like to just kind of leave all of that for the chat interface instead. All right, cool. So now we have our business requirements document for our income and expense tracker. Now we could actually just go through this entire document to see if there's anything that we want to change. So I'm just going to copy this PRD, then back in Claude Code, we can now do the following. So I'm going to say, please use this PRD instead. Please adjust the PRD to fit our project tech stack. And the reason I'm just adding that last part is because I notice sometimes in these PRDs, Claude will kind of make mention of specific technologies that need to be used in your application, like the front end, the back end, the database, the ORM, file storage. So with this line, we're just kind of saying, well, we're interested in the core functionality, then the actual underlying tech should be adjusted according to our project. And then finally, please ask clarifying questions. Then I'll just paste in that entire PRD. We're still in planning mode, and let's send this. So hopefully you've seen the benefit. Instead of just giving it a very vague requirement, we've now provided detailed instructions for a proper application. And now Claude will ask us any clarifying questions. Can we defer the audit trail, edit history, and soft delete to phase 2 using hard delete with confirmation for V1? Let's just go with hard delete. Can we defer bulk actions like bulk delete, bulk export, bulk recategorize for phase 2? Let's just go with the recommended option. Should we use recharts for dashboard charts? I'll just say yes. What file size limits for attachments? We'll just go with 10 meg. Should we keep it single business for V1? So for this demo, I'll just go with single business. What level of VAT summary do you need for V1? Like a simple summary, SARS. I'll just go with simple summary. How should we handle the notification system for V1? So these are like sending emails or notifications. I'll just skip it for now. And now we have our implementation plan. So the plan was actually written to the file system. If you ever want to retrieve it, you can just go to this location, or you can also view it by clicking on this plan button. And this is such a cool view to view the plan. We can browse between all the headings, and of course we can go through this entire plan and request any changes if we want. But I think this is good enough. So let's go ahead and implement this. Now, the first thing I like to do is to actually store this specific file in the projects folder instead of in my user folder. That way we can easily retrieve it if we ever need to. So I am going to switch to planning mode. Then I'm going to click on bypass permissions. And now I'm going to say, please store the implementation plan in the .claude/plans folder. And that's really it. Let's run this. And Claude is saying, well, it's already there. It's in the user.claude folder, but that's not where I want to store it. I want to move it to the project folder. So let's just send this. And that should create a file within this .claude folder in our project itself. And just like that, now we have this plans folder with the full implementation plan for our project. I personally like to co-locate these implementation plans with my project files. Now this takes me to a really important concept of agentic coding, and that is dealing with context. We've done a lot of work within this planning mode, and everything we've done so far is taking up context. So if we enter the command /context and we scroll up, we can see that we're currently using about 33% of our context window. Now, you don't want to go too high because when you start nearing this limit, the quality of the output is going to degrade. So usually it's a good idea that once you're done with planning mode, that you create a new fresh session before making any changes. So what I'll do is simply create a new session. We'll select the same folder, but this time we'll go into edit mode. And now we can simply get Claude to implement this solution. So all we have to do is now pull in that implementation plan somehow. And this again will depend on how you're using Claude Code. If you are using the terminal, all you have to do is grab that plan file and drop it into the chat and then ask Claude to continue with the implementation. In Claude Desktop, you can enter the @ and search for the file this way. Or you can simply select that plan file from your operating system. So I'll just go to Claude, Plans, and let's select that file. Cool. Then I'm going to select my model. And since we have a 1 million context window, I'm not going to worry too much about hitting our limits. The first thing I like to do is to create a design system for the user interface. I need you to create a UI design system for our app. I've attached some important context on what the app is about. Then I'm going to ask it, use your front-end design skill to create something unique and modern. Let me just spend a second explaining what skills are. Within the Claude folder, we can see in this skills folder, we have this front-end design skill. Now, I've already got a dedicated video on skills and what they are, but basically they're a way to elevate your agent's capabilities. By default, these agents are not really good at creating beautiful designs. Everything just kind of looks generic and it looks like AI slop. But what you can do is install unique skills into your project folder, like this front-end design skill. This will give our agent specific instructions on how to create beautiful user interfaces. Again, I'll link to the skills video in the description of this video, but for now, this boilerplate already includes the front-end design skill. Then while we're here, I'm actually going to create another folder called Docs, and within that, Design System. Cool. Then finally, let's do something like replace the landing page of this boilerplate with a suitable landing page for our app. Do not implement any of the back-end features yet. Focus only on the home page and the design system. Cool, let's send this. And man, this is why I really enjoy using the desktop app. Just look at this. So the agent went ahead and made changes to the UI, and we can actually see the changes being made in real time in this preview pane. And Claude is actually testing the changes as well. It's taking screenshots and analyzing the screenshots and making adjustments accordingly. This is something you don't really get from the CLI tool. And by the way, if you are interested to see what changes are being made exactly, you can click on this View Div button, and it will show you all the changes that's a part of this session. And if you want to see the app in your own browser, simply click on this link. And now you've got a full view of your application. And of course, we've got light and dark mode set up as well. So we could iterate on this design if we want, but I think this is good enough. And Claude is also saying that there are no errors in the code. Now that we have a design that we like, we want to store this design as a design system that we can use going forward. So what I'm going to do is say, please create a design system from this and store it in docs/design system. Again, just like with the implementation plan, I like to co-locate all of these important documentation in the same project. Right, let's see what Claude came up with. So if we actually dive into the code editor, we can now see that Claude created a detailed design system for our application. Now, having a design system like this is really important. From time to time, Claude will create new components and new pages, and you might notice that there's like no consistency between them. One page in the application could look very different to another, but by having a design system like this, we can now always refer Claude to the design system to ensure that everything is correct. Now, let me just show you a few ways in which you can enforce that behavior. In the project, we can open up the Claude.md file, and I'm actually going to remove everything that's currently there. We can use the Claude.md file to give very specific instructions to our agent. For example, we can say when creating new pages or components, always reference the design system. And then we can simply tag it with the @ docs/design system. Now this rule will be enforced whether you're using the CLI tool or Claude Desktop. And just for fun, just to show you what I mean, let's add something like always respond like a pirate. Check this out. When we open Claude Code in the terminal, it's just say, hey, and now Claude is responding like a pirate. We can actually open a new session in the desktop app as well, and it's say, hey, and again, Claude is indeed responding like a pirate. So really, this Claude.md file is critical. If Claude is doing something you really don't like, or you want it to always follow a certain rule, you can simply add those rules to this file. Now here's another really cool tip. Claude recently introduced the /loop command. You can use the loop command to run a prompt on a fixed schedule. As an example, we could use this to get an agent to run every 10 minutes, to have a look at our application, and to fix the design issues. So we could do something like, I need you to review the UI in our application and ensure that the design system is being followed in /docs/design system. If something is not correct, then fix it yourself. It's important for the pages and components to have consistency. Run every 10 minutes. Then let's send this. This is going to create a cron job, which is just a job that runs every 10 minutes, and that will run that specific prompt. So what we can also do is just rename this to something like loop fix UI every 10 minutes. So that way in the sidebar, it's a little bit easier to see this specific job. Cool, now that we have a design system and we have a job that will fix the UI every few minutes, we can finally build our application. So again, I'm just going to pull in our implementation plan, and finally we can tell our agent to go ahead and build this. Now, instead of asking this agent to do all of this work itself, there is always a risk that we might actually exceed our context window. If we do that, we could use sub-agents. Please go ahead and implement this solution. Now, I don't want you to do the work yourself. Instead, I want you to split up the work and kick off multiple background agents to implement the actual solution. What this will do is the agent will actually fire off sub-agents that will implement the solution for us. Now, Claude is saying I'll split the work up into batches that respect the dependency chain while maximizing parallelism. Let me first check the project structure so I can give agents proper context. Now let me check the design system references. And by the way, that's because we have that instruction in the Claude.md file. Good, I have a clear picture of the code base. Here's my execution plan. For round 1, it's going to create the schema and dependencies. Then for round 2, it's going to use 4 parallel agents to implement these. Round 3, it will use 2 parallel agents. And for round 4, it will use 1 agent just for navigation and polish. Now we have our to-do list. And by the way, using sub-agents like this is really the best way to go about it. Think of it as employees. So if we ask a single developer to do all of this work, it's going to take a really long time. But if we use sub-agents, which are effectively multiple coding agents, they can run in parallel, which means that the work gets done so much faster. And this really is my favorite part of all of this. We can now sit back and see how this application comes to life within this right-hand pane over here. All right, cool. So this is actually what it looks like. Our main agent determined all of these different waves or things that need to be implemented. It then kicked off 5 sub-agents. So although we can't really see the specific details on what they're currently busy with, we can see that each sub-agent has a unique ID. And we know this agent is working on the transaction page and components. This agent is building the attachments API, etc. And the main agent will let us know as soon as the sub-agents are done. Right, so all of our coding agents just finished their work, and I think it's time to test our actual app. Now, sometimes Claude will start the application on a funny port, like 49264. For our applications, the port actually needs to be on port 3000. I'm just going to ask the agent, please start the dev server on port 3000. And the reason is that the port is actually important for the user authentication system. In order to avoid people hacking into our system, it's expecting any auth calls to come from a certain URL. So just know that if you are following along using my boilerplate, then you do want to start the app on port 3000. Right, so let's see if everything works. Right, so let's get the agent to actually test our app. So I'll just say, hey Claude, I need you to test the application yourself. Please go through the entire flow of creating a user and then adding income and expenditure items. So in other words, I want you to test this app end to end. And then let's send this. Now Claude created a to-do list for testing our application. And this is really the fun part. I'm not touching anything on my side, by the way. Claude Code is driving the browser window at the moment, and it is testing our application in real time, which also means if it runs into any issues, it will automatically resolve those issues and continue testing the app as well. As an example, here's the first issue. After it's signed into the dashboard, it's getting this message, unable to load dashboard. Failed to load dashboard data 500. And in the chat window, Claude is indeed saying that the dashboard navigation looks great, but there's a 500 error loading the data. Let me investigate. Then it actually made a change. It pushed the schema in this instance, and now the dashboard is working. Wonderful. So Claude is going to continue testing our app, picking up any potential bugs, and making any fixes on our behalf. And keep in mind, while we're working with Claude, this loop session is still running. So it actually navigated the app as well, and it actually applied the UI changes to some of these components and pages. All pages and components are now consistent with the design system. And every 10 minutes, this guy will run and pick up any other components and pages that need to be fixed. And what we can do now is deploy this to production so that we can start using it today. Now, I'm not going to cover deployment in this video, but I will link to another video where I go through the entire process step by step. But what I do want to point out is that you can continue working on this application in several ways. Either you can just ask Claude to continue making changes, but if you don't want to babysit the process or you don't want to sit behind your PC the whole day, you can actually remote control Claude Code as well, and it's really easy to set up. First, you do need to install the Claude mobile app on your phone. They do have an app for Android and iOS. If we open up a new session and we can click on Add Remote Control, this gives us this command, Claude Remote Control. So that means all we have to do is open up the command prompt or terminal or even your code editor in that project folder. Then let's run the command Claude Remote Control. Then I'll just select option 1. Then we can open the Claude mobile app on our phone, and under code, we should see our actual session. So if I open this up and I'll just type something like describe the project, when I send this, I'll actually go back to the Claude desktop app for a second as well. We can see this new session. And here we can see that message that I just sent through the mobile app. Now I'm not going to click on anything on this screen. I'm just going to allow these permissions on my phone. And just like that, we can remote control Claude Code using our phones. And if you want to learn how to use AI tools to build real-world applications, then consider joining my school community, Agentic Labs. It's only $7 per month for the first 1,000 members. And this gets you access to a whole bunch of classrooms, including Claude Code. And we also have weekly Q&A sessions where you can ask me questions in real time. We also have a vibrant community of AI builders that are learning and sharing ideas with each other. And we also have these weekly challenges that will challenge you to use your AI building skills to build really cool projects. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more Claude Code content. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.